Gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling. Has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the third! The timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry. Way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA, Friday edition, as we are here every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on DSM Media's YouTube channel, TikTok page, Twitter page, and Facebook page as well. We are streaming live from all of those channels. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's what's most important. We'll have a Sixers pregame show every single Sixers game, so be sure to check that out. It's exclusively on the YouTube channel. That's the reason to go over there, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on, and make sure you're tapped into all of DSM Media's content. And it's not just Sixers pregame. It's all Philadelphia sports pregame shows, anywhere from Sixers, Eagles, Phillies. We got you covered on all across the board. Of course, today we're going to get into the NBA content as we do per usual, right? Thursday night recap. We'll talk about last night's action, updated power rankings. We'll take a look at the NBA scope as of right now and the top 10 teams in the NBA. And then we're going to get into some playoff, just look aheads, right? Look at the playoff picture. I'm going to keep you guys up to date on what's going on in the Western and Eastern conferences here as we get closer to the playoff picture. A lot of teams, only 12 games left in the season. So we are getting down to the nitty and gritty here. And then we're going to just take a look at some of the betting odds for the award races right now. And, some things have changed over the last few days, games, weeks. Nonetheless, we're going to take a look at that. And then I'll get you my Friday night picks. Best bets, guys. This is a pre-recorded episode earlier in the day. I'll get the best bets posted on the YouTube shorts as well as our TikTok page. So be sure to follow us on TikTok at DSM_media. Or excuse me, no, on TikTok at DSM Media, no underscore on there. On Twitter at DSM_media. Or you can just subscribe right here on YouTube to our DSM channel. It'll be on YouTube Shorts posted later today around 5 p.m. when this episode's dropping. So it should be posted by the time you're viewing this nonetheless. That being said, let's get into the nitty and gritty here. We had matchups last night. We had 5 games take place on the Thursday night slate. The first one being the Denver Nuggets visiting the Detroit Pistons. Nuggets were able to snap that 4-game losing streak. Obviously, they've been in a little bit of a slump of late. That includes Nikola Jokic, who was the MVP favorite up until yesterday, Thursday. So things have changed, but nonetheless, he had a great performance once again. 30 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 14 for 18 from the field. So very efficient. From what I heard, I didn't watch this game. I'm not going to speculate. From what I saw on Twitter, which, mind you, it's all narrative, agenda-based, I heard he was stat padding. I heard he was in the game. Nuggets are up 20 in the fourth quarter. He's in the game. He's still putting up numbers. Whatever. I mean, it happens in every game. It happens for every player. I'm not going to sit here and nitpick on Jokic. I'm not going to sit here and try to degrade him like everybody else is, especially Philadelphia. I get it. Our guy is going up against him for that MVP award. They've been going at it for the last 3 years now, last 3 seasons, I should say. And it can turn into a derogatory conversation when you're trying to talk about the opposing player. As I've discussed on here, I'm not getting into that each and every time, but I will say people are starting to understand that Embiid does play defense, and that's the difference between these two players. Both are magnificent on the offensive end of the floor. The difference is the defense. People will point to the plus minus for defense. Look, watch the games. It's as simple as that. You see Nikola Jokic getting blown by in all situations, right? Just look at that. But that's beside the point, right? Nonetheless, 30 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. He was 1 assist away from another triple-double. Averages a triple-double in the season. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in this game, 20 points, 4 for 7 from the three-point line. You look at this game, the only obviously the Pistons are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. They've been officially the only team in the Eastern Conference that's eliminated from the playoffs. Not much to say about them, but you look at it from the Nuggets perspective. You snap that 4-game losing streak. You get all 5 starters in the double figures. Not only that, not only into double figures, but all 5 starters, 15-plus points last night. That means everybody's heavily involved, especially in that starting unit. So you got to love to see that if you're the Denver Nuggets. Nonetheless, it is the worst team in the Eastern Conference. Great to snap that 4-game losing streak, though. Next, we had the Thunder and the Raptors. Thunder visiting the Raptors. Raptors coming away with a W here, 128-111. We had Pascal Siakam with 25 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists. We had Gary Trent Jr. off the bench, 23 points, 5 rebounds. He was 8 for 11 from the field. Very efficient night for him. SGA in this one, 29 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 12 for 19 from the field. Nonetheless, this is a great W for the Raptors at home, right? They take care of business, double-digit victory. Pascal Siakam does his thing. Fred VanVleet had a great game. Gary Trent Jr. Raptors are coming around, right? You look at the Raptors right now, they are 5 games back from the 6th seed. That would get them out of the play-in conversation right now. I believe they're currently 9th in the Eastern Conference. You look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're a 0.5, they're a half a game up on the New Orleans Pelicans and the Utah Jazz for that final play-in spot in the Western Conference. They're only 2 games back from the actual 6th seed in the Western Conference. So a half game out of being out of the play-in tournament, 2 games out of being out of the play-in tournament in the opposite direction. But nonetheless, you look at the rest of the schedule for Oklahoma City Thunder, 12 games left in order to make that push. Oklahoma City Thunder, that's one of the teams I would like to see get into the mix there. Next, we have the Sacramento Kings visiting the Brooklyn Nets. Excuse me. Stomach feeling a little uneasy there. Excuse me there, though. Next, we had the Sacramento Kings 101 at the Brooklyn Nets 96. So 101-96 victory for the Sacramento Kings in this one. Domantas Sabonis just continues to tear it up. 24 points, 21 rebounds, 5 assists. De'Aaron Fox, that duo, continues to be successful. 18 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Mikal Bridges, one of the most improved player candidates of the season, especially since he's gotten to Brooklyn. 23 points, 4 rebounds, 7 for 17 from the field. Brooklyn currently 6th in the Eastern Conference. Sacramento 2nd in the Western Conference, continuing to prove their worth. Next, we had the Pacers at the Bucks. This was a surprising victory for the Pacers, 139-123. You had Aaron Nembhard with 24 points, 5 assists, 4 for 9 from the three-point line. Buddy Hield, 20 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 8 for 11 from the field. Very efficient night for Buddy. Giannis, 25 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists in this game. Drew Holiday, 19 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, 8 for 12 from the field. No Tyrese Halliburton in this victory. I think that's incredible for the Pacers, who are trying to push their way into the playoffs. They're a half game back from being in the play-in. Once again, 12 games left for the Pacers. And then Milwaukee Bucks, they're only 2 games up on Boston as of right now. And this is a pretty disappointing loss. You talk about Giannis, you talk about Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, all available in this game. Actually, Chris Middleton was out of this game. Excuse me. So just Giannis and Drew Holiday available for this game. Nonetheless, you're at home. You're in Milwaukee. No excuse to lose this game, but you're going to drop one here and there. I'm not going to penalize the Bucks too much for that. Nonetheless, great victory for the Pacers, who are trying to make that late playoff push here. Finally, last game of the night. It was probably the most entertaining game of the day, maybe aside from the Kings and Nets. We had the Orlando Magic visiting the Phoenix Suns. This was a 116-113 narrow victory for the Phoenix Suns in this one. Obviously, still no KD, might not be back for the rest of the regular season. We'll see how that plays out. But in this game, we had Devin Booker with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 7 for 17 from the field. Cameron Payne off the bench, 18 points, 5 assists. He was 3 for 5 from the three-point line. Paolo Banchero, Rookie of the Year candidate. He's running away with that award, but 18 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists in this one. Markelle Fultz, 25 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds. Love to see that from Markelle Fultz. Obviously, as a Sixers fan, it didn't work out in Philly, right? You can consider it a bust maybe. He was just injured. He gets a chance to get healthy down there in Orlando. He's really shown his stuff this season. I love to see that from Markelle. Rooting for him. Franz Wagner, 16 points, 10 rebounds in this one. Phoenix is now 1 game up on the LA Clippers for the 4 seed. Clippers have won 4 in a row, so that's huge for the Suns to ultimately get this victory. They just got to stay afloat until KD gets back, man. They're still a great team. They're still a contending team even without KD. Just stay afloat until he gets back, and you will see the true Phoenix Suns in form. Really love this game for the Magic. Even though they lose, it's still a close game. They're playing some really good basketball of late. This season, not of late, just this season in general, they're playing really good basketball. It seems as if not only Banchero, but the other talent that they've been able to bring in has kind of changed the culture there, and they're on the right track. It's a team to watch out for in the future, in my opinion. So shout out to the Magic. Even though they don't get the W here, make it close. Give Phoenix Suns a run for their money. That is going to cap off last night's action. Not much, right? 5 games. Most of the games, 3 of the games weren't within double digits. The Kings-Nets game, Kings win that one by 5. Magic end up losing by 3 to the Suns. Those were the only close games last night. So not too much to get into. Let's dive into power rankings. That's always fun. So I got my top 10 teams in the NBA as of right now for you guys. So we'll go through this list very quickly, just so we can get to the playoff pictures, because that's what really matters as of right now, with a little over 12 games left for each team. Then we'll get into award races, and I'll get you guys out of here fairly quickly today. It is Friday. I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. Don't want to take up too much of my time. I got some stuff to get through today, aside from the content creating space. So we're going to make this a quick episode. As you guys can see, I'm powering through here. But nonetheless, next week, hopefully have a more thorough episode. Hopefully get some more news. There's just not a lot going on in the NBA right now. It's playoff push. It's awards. That's all that's being talked about really as of right now. It's a tight race in each conference. So we'll give an overview for that, and we'll get you guys out of here pretty quickly today. Nonetheless, power rankings. As you guys can see, 10 through 1 here, anywhere from the Los Angeles Clippers to the Milwaukee Bucks. Starting with the Clippers, right? 37-33 on the season. They are the 5th seed in the Western Conference currently. They're on a 4-game winning streak. That's something I mentioned previously. Phoenix Suns only 1 game up on them right now. So the Clippers are trying to make a push. Russ has been figuring it out in LA, right? Looking better. Kawhi looking better, right? So love what the Clippers are doing of late. 4 wins in a row. 5-5 in their last 10. Got to build on that, right? Build on these 4 wins. Keep this streak going. But nonetheless, I've been very impressive late with the LA Clippers. Just keep it up, man. They have the talent. We know that. Can you just keep it up? Build some consistency here. They're doing that right now. Number 9, we have the New York Knicks at 41-30. They are 5th in the Eastern Conference currently. They've won 2 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10. This is huge for the Knicks, given that they've won 2 in a row, 7-3, the recent success. Jalen Brunson, they've been playing most of that stretch without him. So it's very impressive for them to keep themselves afloat in the Eastern Conference, which is very tight, by the way. Nonetheless, 41 wins on the season, 5th in Eastern Conference. Got to give some props to the New York Knicks. Julius Randle doing his thing. Emmanuel Quickly, candidate for 6th Man of the Year. So gotta respect what the Knicks are doing. Number 8, Memphis Grizzlies. 8 through 5 is where things are interesting. I think you could move these teams all around depending how you view them. Memphis Grizzlies right now, no Ja Morant. We don't know what mental space Ja Morant is in right now, even when he does come back. It's obviously bigger than what we thought it was originally with just the video of the strippers and the gun at the strip club. It's obviously a lot deeper than that for him to be gone this long, still out, going through counseling, different things like that. So a lot of speculation, a lot of question marks with this Memphis Grizzlies team. Brandon Clark going down for the season. Steven Adams still out. So who's helping there in the big man space? Obviously, a lot of pressure on Jaren Jackson Jr., a lot of pressure on Desmond Bane. Tyus Jones, been very impressive. Been very impressive in place of Ja Morant. I will say that. Shout out to Tyus Jones. I got to show love to the Duke brethren there. Nonetheless, Cleveland Cavaliers are right ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies right there. Number 7, Cleveland on the season, 44-28. They're 4th in the Eastern Conference. They've lost 1, that loss being to the Philadelphia 76ers of late. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Obviously, they have a better record than the two teams that are ahead of them in the Suns and the Kings. This is more or less just my feeling, not only of the records, not only of what has transpired throughout this season, but also how they're playing of late and what it looks like as we get closer to the playoffs. The Cleveland Cavaliers got to get Jared Allen healthy in order to even have a chance in the playoffs, I believe, because he makes that defensive front special, right? When you have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland as your two guards up in the front, you need some help, some support, some anchorage in the back of that defense, right? So need Jared Allen healthy. Cleveland Cavaliers, they've been very impressive this season. I'm just higher on the Suns right now. You look at the Phoenix Suns right now, 38-32. Yes, it's a worse record. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They've won one. This is obviously since Devin Booker and Chris Paul have been able to return to the lineup. They've been able to look more like themselves. I expect that to continue. They'll get KD back. And mind you, KD, I get it, the injury concerns, coming back, chemistry. If there's one player, one team that can make this work with just inserting a guy back into the lineup, it's Kevin Durant, and it's the Phoenix Suns with Devin Booker and Chris Paul, one of the best point guards of all time. So I'm still very high on the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, we need to get Durant back in the picture for them to be a legitimate contender for me in the West. But nonetheless, I still like where the Phoenix Suns are out, and they can continue to build steam there. Next at 5, we have the Sacramento Kings. It's time to give them some props on my end. There's other people that have been higher on them throughout the season. It's time to give them some props. There's an argument about who won that trade between Halliburton and Sabonis, right? That trade between Indiana and Sacramento. Right now, maybe you could say Sacramento is winning that trade just because they're the second seed in the Western Conference. But aside from that, Halliburton's putting up all-star caliber numbers over there in Indiana. So one of the more even trades in recent history. Nonetheless, got to give Sacramento some props right now. They're not only the second seed in the West, they're the hottest team in the last 10 games in the NBA at 8-2. So got to give Sacramento some props right now. I'm excited to see what they can do in the playoffs. They have one of the best duos in Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox in the NBA right now. Coming in at number 4, we have the first seed in the Western Conference, them being the Denver Nuggets. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Specifically, they're 1-4 in their last 5. They're just not playing well of late. Jokic is not playing well of late. That's why he's been superseded in the MVP conversation. Nonetheless, got to give him credit for still being that far ahead in the Western Conference in the first place, to where you're 1-5 in your last 5 and you still haven't lost your place, right? So got to give them some credit. They're taking care of business nonetheless. Got back on track with the Pistons win in Detroit. Keep building on that. Maybe we'll see them rise on this list. Next, we have the Boston Celtics at number 3, 48-22. They are the second seed in the Eastern Conference right now. So I know people are going to say, they're 3-0 against the Sixers. People are going to say, they still have a better record than the Sixers. I get it. I'm not going to argue with you about that. I'm not going to argue that if the Sixers play the Celtics in the playoffs, that the Sixers are going to win that series right now. I'm not going to argue with you about that if you say the Celtics are going to win that series. I would call it a 50-50. I would call it a jump ball, right? But some may view it as the Celtics being the favorites, and that's fair. They beat the Sixers 3 times this season, 2 of those games being fairly close, but nonetheless, they're 3-0 against the Sixers. They do have a better record. Sixers are simply playing better basketball right now. You look at the Boston Celtics. Yes, they're second in the Eastern Conference. They're 5-5 in their last 10. You look at the Sixers. Yes, they're third in the Eastern Conference. They have the same amount of losses as the Boston Celtics, behind by 2 wins. Nonetheless, they've won 6 games in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're the hotter team right now. They're the team that's playing better basketball. Finally, number 1, first team to 50 wins this season, the Milwaukee Bucks. They just continue to impress. They're first in the Eastern Conference, first in the NBA overall. Yes, they did lose the game against the Pacers last night, but they're 7-3 in their last 10. The biggest thing for me with the Milwaukee Bucks, Chris Middleton the other night against the Sacramento Kings comes out, drops 31 points in that game, hits 5 threes, shoots it efficiently from the floor that night. That is a huge positive sign for the Milwaukee Bucks as they inch closer to the playoffs. Chris Middleton, they're going to need him to get through the Eastern Conference. They're going to need him to be at that all-star level for them to get through the Eastern Conference. That's a positive sign for the Milwaukee Bucks going forward. Nonetheless, they round out my top 10 here as the number one team in the NBA, as well as the Eastern Conference. Some honorable mentions: Golden State Warriors, LA Lakers, Miami Heat. I really like what the LA Lakers are doing right now. I would consider them better than the likes of the Dallas Mavericks, the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's even without LeBron right now. Once they get LeBron back, I do like the Lakers. They just need to make the playoffs. And then Golden State Warriors, they're trying to get healthy, right? Tonight, Draymond Green suspended, got his 16th tech in the last game. They still need to figure some things out. They're still not where I would like them to be as the defending champs. Miami Heat, they're playing better basketball of late. Just need to see them build on that. But nonetheless, that rounds out the top 10 power rankings in the NBA for me currently. Let me know in the comments definitely how you're feeling. If you have any disagreements with my list there, let me know where you would put that team. Let me know who you would replace them with nonetheless. Next, let's talk about the playoff picture very briefly here. You look at the Eastern Conference to Western Conference, it's fairly close, especially down near the play-in tournament. Let's start with the Eastern Conference, just because I do think as you look down through each seed, it's a little bit more widespread after you get past the third seed in the Eastern Conference. So you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, as I mentioned, they're 15-20. They're 2 games ahead of the Boston Celtics right now. So it's a pretty tight race. Boston, 2 games behind Milwaukee, 48-22. You got Philadelphia, who is 1 game behind the Boston Celtics right now. Cleveland Cavaliers at 44-28. They are 4 games behind the Sixers right now, so 4 games out of the 3 seed. That game the other night between the Cavs and the Sixers, that's why it was so important. Not only are the Sixers 4 games ahead of the Cavs in the standings, they also have the tiebreaker. They won the season series against the Cavs as well. So good to see that for the Sixers, of course, but nonetheless, Cavs are in a good spot. They are 2.5 games ahead of the New York Knicks currently at 41-30. You have the Knicks a game and a half ahead of the Brooklyn Nets at 39-31 at the 6th seed. Getting down into the play-in tournament seeding, you have the Miami Heat, the 1st seed there at the 7th seed. They're 38-33 on the season, 12.5 games out of the 1st seed. They're 1.5 games away from the 6th seed behind Brooklyn there. 8th seed is going to be the Atlanta Hawks as of right now at 34-35. They are 3 games back of Miami from that 7th seed. They are 4.5 games back of Brooklyn at the 6th seed to get out of that play-in tournament. Number 9, the first team out right now would be the Toronto Raptors at 34-36. So they have one more loss than the Atlanta Hawks at the 8th seed. Nonetheless, a half game back of the Hawks for that 8th seed. Ultimately, the only difference there, they're going to get that home court advantage in the play-in game against Toronto. So that is something to play for there between those 2 teams. Then finally, the last play-in seed in the Eastern Conference, we have the Washington Wizards at 32-37. They are 1.5 games back of the 7th seed currently behind the Toronto Raptors. And then they have the Indiana Pacers right on their tail at 32-38. Pacers just a half game back of that final play-in seed. Chicago Bulls are the final team in the mix there. They're the 12th seed right now at 31-37. And they are also just a half game back from the Wizards for that 10th seed. Nonetheless, the way I view this, I don't see much changing within the top 3. Yes, the Sixers are only 1 game back. Do I think Boston's going to drop a game or 2 here or there? Yes. The Sixers have to drop a game or 2 at some point, right? They're playing out of their minds right now. They've won 6 straight. They turned it on at the right time. There's got to be a few games mixed here in the end where they get Embiid some rest, Harden some rest, PJ Tucker, even Tobias Harris looks like he needs some rest right now before we get to the postseason. So I imagine the Sixers will drop 1 or 2 games, maybe. The Boston Celtics, maybe they'll drop 1 or 2 games. I expect it to stay similar to where it is right now. But nonetheless, top 3 seeds, I expect them to stay the same. The only thing you may see is maybe the Sixers get ahead of the Boston Celtics for that 2 seed, which would be huge. It is something to play for. I don't want to undersell that. Just don't know if they're going to be able to get it done. They do have one more matchup with Boston in April, though. The number 4 seed, like I said, they're 4 games behind the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers have the season series. I don't see Cleveland catching up with Philly, but I also don't see the New York Knicks catching up with Cleveland. The key for the New York Knicks, don't let the Brooklyn Nets catch you, right? They're 1.5 games up on the Brooklyn Nets right now. Brooklyn's not playing their greatest ball, right? They traded all their stars away, but they still have a decent team there. Brooklyn, 1.5 up on Miami. So, of course, Miami could catch Brooklyn. I think that's one of the more realistic cases of a team getting above another. Miami, I expect to finish the season stronger than Brooklyn, simply put. Atlanta, Toronto, Washington, they are all within 2 games of each other. And then you can even throw in the last 2 seeds there in Indiana and Chicago at the 11 and 12, all within 2.5 games of one another. So those seeds could go any which way. If I had to be honest with you, as far as the 3 teams that I think I would want to see in the playoffs, mind you, Miami's a lock. I think they're a team that you have to see in the playoffs, right? Maybe they're in the play-in tournament. Maybe they're not. I think Brooklyn would be more fit for the play-in tournament than Miami. I think Miami could supersede them, like I said. But nonetheless, if I had to pick 3 teams out of this bottom 5 between Atlanta, Toronto, Washington, Indiana, Chicago, I'm going Atlanta, Toronto, Indiana with a healthy Tyrese Halliburton. I would love to see them get some playoff experience there. Wizards, I'm good on that. I don't need to see Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma. I don't need to see that show again, right? I'm good on that. Give me Pacers. Give me Tyrese Halliburton and that young Pacers team in the play-in tournament. See if they can upset one of these higher teams. Moving to the Western Conference. Like I said, the Western Conference is a little bit tighter, not necessarily at the top, but definitely anywhere from the 4 down to the 12 seed. It's a very tight race. So just to give you a quick overview of that, we have the Denver Nuggets at 47 and 23. The next best team is the Sacramento Kings at 42 and 27. They're 4.5 games back of the Denver Nuggets. I don't see them catching the Nuggets over these last 12 or so games. They're only a half game ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies, so I see them. They're gonna be seesawing this whole rest of the season, I would imagine. Who's gonna finish stronger? I will say Sacramento's healthier. They've played more consistently. Memphis, obviously, they have the higher ceiling, in my opinion, but nonetheless, only a half game in between those 2 teams. Then you move from the 3 to the 4 seed. That's where you get a little bit of separation with the Phoenix Suns at 38 and 32. They're 4 games back of the Memphis Grizzlies, nonetheless, and it's really tight all the way through here. So you have the Phoenix Suns, who are 4 games back of the Grizzlies. You have the LA Clippers that are only 1 game back of the Suns for that 4 seed. Golden State Warriors only 2 games back from that 4 seed. You have the Minnesota Timberwolves 3 games back from the 4 seed at the 7 seed. Dallas Mavericks at the 8 seed, 3 games back for the 4 seed. LA Lakers at the 9 seed, they're only 4 games back from the 4 seed. So you could literally 4 games away from play-in versus the 4th seed in the Western Conference. The Oklahoma City Thunder, once again, only 4 games back of that 4 seed. Utah Jazz, 4.5 games back of the 4 seed. New Orleans Pelicans, 4.5 games back of the 4 seed. So as you can see, it gets very interesting anywhere from the Phoenix Suns all the way down to the New Orleans Pelicans at the 12 seed in the Western Conference right now. If I had to give you my suggestion or my preference of who would make, especially the play-in tournament for the Western Conference, obviously, I want to see Phoenix make the playoffs. I want to see what that looks like with KD. Clippers, we want to see them in the playoffs, right? Paul George, Kawhi, yes, we've seen it a little bit in the last few years. It's been very unsuccessful. Let's see if they're fully healthy, get to the playoffs, what they can really do, because if not, it's time to blow that thing up. The Golden State Warriors, it's defending champs. You want to see Steph and the defending champs get back in the playoffs. Minnesota, Dallas, LA Lakers, OKC, Utah, New Orleans. That's where it gets interesting for me because I'll be honest, I don't want to see the Minnesota Timberwolves in the playoffs. Sorry to my buddy Zach Noble. I don't want to see your squad in the playoffs. I don't want to see Rudy Gobert. I'm good on that. I love Ant Edwards. I'm good on that. The Dallas Mavericks, yeah, I would like to see Kyrie and Luka, see what that looks like in the playoffs. Obviously, we saw Luka take this team on a very deep playoff run all the way to the Western Conference Finals last season. So, yes, I would like to see the Dallas Mavericks make it. Lakers, it's a yes for me with the Lakers as well. Just get LeBron back for the playoffs, right? They're playing really good basketball right now. Get AD healthy. He's in a good space. He said he wanted to play the other night against the Rockets. They didn't let him go. They end up losing that game. Hopefully they don't make that same mistake. Nonetheless, with those improvements, those additions that they made at the All-Star break trade deadline, I think the Lakers are one of the better teams in the Western Conference as a whole, probably a top 7 team right now. Even though they are the 9 seed. Let me just, put that into frame there. Oklahoma City Thunder at the 10 seed right now. Would love to see them make it. It would be them and the New Orleans Pelicans, just to kind of, skip ahead here. So Dallas, LA, Oklahoma City, New Orleans would be my 4 teams for the play-in tournament that I would want to see get a chance at the playoffs. Utah, great story, great turnaround. Obviously getting Gobert, Mitchell out of there, still in the conversation. I would rather see OKC's young talent with Josh Giddey, SGA, see them get into the playoffs. Into the play-in tournament at least, see if they can get a chance at the playoffs. Next year, you have a top draft pick. You have Chet Holmgren coming back. They can get really scary over the next few years if they get some playoff experience here. And then the New Orleans Pelicans, it speaks for themselves. Speaks for itself. They need to get Zion healthy. He hasn't been healthy for most of the time he's been on that team. It's disappointing for me as a Duke fan, obviously. Before I move on from that, Duke. Yeah, good shit yesterday against Oral Roberts. Kenny the Jet Smith, you clown. You're picking Oral Roberts over Duke. Have you seen the way Duke's playing of late? They have a chance of making a Final Four if we're being realistic here. That's not for this show, though. Nonetheless, I would love to see New Orleans make it. Get Zion into the postseason. If he can get healthy, I would love to see Zion, what he looks like in the postseason, nonetheless. Nonetheless, I know I just said that 2 times in a row. That would round out your Western Conference playoff pictures. New Orleans, Utah, OKC, LA Lakers, Dallas, Minnesota, Golden State, LA Clippers, Phoenix Suns, all very tight in the Western Conference. As I mentioned, my play-in seeds would be Dallas, LA Lakers, Oklahoma City Thunder, and New Orleans Pelicans. I think that would make for the most entertaining play-in series that we could see in the playoff picture. So shout out to those teams. We'll see how it plays out. Only a little over 12 games, if that, left in the season for each of these teams. So it should get pretty interesting. As we're getting along with these updates on the playoff picture, I do want to just update you guys on the odds for the award races. MVP, as I mentioned throughout the show, Embiid has taken the lead. It is at plus 100. This was as of 11:30 a.m. on Friday, so just keep that in mind if things have changed, if you look at it. But nonetheless, as of 11:30 a.m. Friday, what's today's day? March 17th. I got to keep track of my days here. Embiid is at plus 100 to win the MVP award. We have Nikola Jokic at plus 160, Giannis at plus 370, and then Jason Tatum at plus 10,000. So it's a 3-man race, really close to a 2-man race, right? You have Giannis kind of fading back there at the plus 370, but Embiid taking the lead, and rightfully so. The only thing that I will say to combat him taking the lead now is that he's played this way all season. This is nothing new. I get that Jokic is kind of taking a step back. He's 1-4 in his last 5 games as far as wins and losses. But nonetheless, Embiid's been doing this all season. He's been doing this the last 3 seasons. So I'm glad that people are finally starting to recognize. You look at this Embiid versus Jokic case, they play on March 27th. 10 days from now, we're going to get that matchup in Denver. Maybe that settles it, right? If Embiid comes out there and dominates Jokic again, it's got to be over. The conversation needs to be over there, right? So interesting, tight race for MVP right now. Shout out to Embiid. I'm going to go and lay a little something on that. Now that he's actually getting a fair shake, it feels. Rookie of the year, Paolo Banchero is running away with this one. It's at minus 7,000 for Paolo, so no need. If you haven't laid money on it by now, don't do it at this point. Jalen Williams out of OKC, he's been lighting it up. He's at plus 6,000. It's the second best odds, tied with Benedict Mathurin from Indiana and Walker Kessler from Minnesota. Excuse me, Utah. He's on Utah now. Excuse me. Got traded from Minnesota. But nonetheless, Walker Kessler at plus 6,000, tied with Jalen Williams and Benedict Mathurin for second place in the Rookie of the Year voting. Paolo Banchero running away with it. Defensive Player of the Year is the other tight race, along with Sixth Man of the Year, I would say. Sixth Man of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and MVP are all fairly close. Defensive Player of the Year right now, the standings are Lopez at minus 150. That's Brook Lopez from the Milwaukee Bucks. We have Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies at plus 140. Bam Adebayo at plus 2,700. And Giannis at plus 3,000. Brook Lopez is a hell of a defender. He has a hell of a case for Defensive Player of the Year. But when you're beside Giannis, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about that when he's the anchor. But sure, Giannis is a great defensive player as well. He's also top 4 candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. I lean Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he makes the bigger impact on defense. I think when he's out of the game for Memphis, it's a bigger loss than when Brook Lopez is out of the game for Milwaukee, given that you have a Giannis Antetokounmpo on that team. So I would go with Jaren Jackson Jr. as my pick for Defensive Player of the Year as of right now even. So at plus 140, I'm laying some money on that as we speak. Most Improved Player of the Year, Lauri Markkanen's running away with it at minus 450. Then the second best odds are SGA from OKC at plus 650. We have Jalen Brunson there at plus 1,100. Mikal Bridges at plus 3,500. Tyrese Halliburton at plus 6,500. You talk about Jalen Brunson. If he doesn't get injured, I think it's a lot closer for him. Tyrese Halliburton, he doesn't get injured. I think it's a lot closer for him. SGA, he doesn't get injured. I think it's a lot closer for him as well. Lauri Markkanen, with all due respect to what he's doing in Utah, I think it's been incredibly impressive. Overall, I think SGA has been the more improved player in OKC. That's just my opinion. That's how I look at it. I get Lauri Markkanen has played all this season consistently. SGA's missed some time. But nonetheless, all of these guys are pretty significant improvements from what they were last year. You talk about Jalen Brunson, what he's doing in New York with that Knicks team. Mikal Bridges, if he plays this whole season in Brooklyn, maybe he wins it. And then Tyrese Halliburton obviously he's the only reason the Indiana Pacers are in the conversation for the play-in tournament. Finally, Sixth Man of the Year, we have Malcolm Brogdon leading the way at minus 165 odds. Emmanuel Quickley for the New York Knicks, sixth man off the bench at plus 165, the backup point guard for Jalen Brunson there. Bobby Portis from Milwaukee, backup center, backup power forward there at plus 1,700. And then Malik Monk on the Sacramento Kings, sixth man at plus 2,000. I do love the Quickley pick. I love Emmanuel Quickley. I think he's going to be a force. I think he's a guy that's going to improve even more next season as well after making this late push. Malcolm Brogdon's the clear choice here for me, though. The things he's been able to do with Boston Celtics, the consistency he's been able to bring off the bench for them, have to give Malcolm Brogdon the nod there nonetheless. So just to run through my picks for the awards as of right now, I'm going Joel Embiid. Lock that in. Once he dominates Jokic from the 27th, you can solidify it. Rookie of the Year, Paolo's running away with that. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going Jaren Jackson Jr. Lopez is the favorite right now. I'm going Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he makes a bigger impact. Most Improved Player, Lauri Markkanen is running away with it. If I had to pick, I would pick SGA. I think he's just been the more impressive player. I think he's made the bigger improvement. Sixth Man of the Year, I'm going with Malcolm Brogdon. I'm going with the odds there, the favorite. Nonetheless, I just like what he's been able to do for the Boston Celtics this season. But just to give you an idea of where everything's at with the award races, if you already have money out there, just giving you an update of what that may look like, if you need to cash out or not. But nonetheless, that was your full update for the full NBA regular season player awards. Finally, let's get into the picks of the night. We got Friday night picks. We got an 8-game slate here tonight in the NBA. So first game, we have the Sixers, who are 10.5-point favorites over the Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte. Obviously, I'm going with the Philadelphia 76ers here. Check out Sixers pregame a little bit after this. Should be airing at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out Sixers pregame. I'll give you the full rundown of why I got the Sixers winning there. Warriors at Hawks. We have the Atlanta Hawks as a 4-point favorite here. This is going to be a close game. No Draymond Green in this game. Stephen Curry is questionable. No Andrew Wiggins. I am going to go with the Warriors on the road, though. I think they need this game a little bit more than the Hawks. I think the Hawks can still stay afloat in that Eastern Conference, even if they drop a game to the Warriors. Warriors need to keep pace in the Western Conference, or they could fall out of the play-in tournament if they're not careful. Next, we have the Cavs hosting the Washington Wizards. Cavs 5.5-point favorites in this one. No Jarrett Allen. Yeah, no Jarrett Allen. He is out tonight. I'm still going to go with the Cavs in this one. I think they have too much. They're just a much better team than the Washington Wizards. You look at the Timberwolves visiting the Chicago Bulls. We have the Bulls as 2.5-point favorites there. Gobert is questionable. Alex Caruso is questionable for the Bulls. I'm going to go T-Wolves in this one. I love Ant Edwards. I think they have the better team overall. Not a huge fan of the Bulls, if I'm being honest, overall. I think they are, one of those just not even middle of the pack teams. It's those teams that like hover around a 12, 11, and 10 seed. And it's like, man, just blow that thing up already. I don't like anything about the Chicago Bulls, quite honestly. Going to go with the T-Wolves in that one on the road. Next, we have the Pelicans visiting the Rockets. Pelicans a 5-point favorite in this one. Think this, once again, is going to be a tight game. I'm going to go with the Pelicans. They need it more, right? We're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the season. These teams got to start stepping up if they want to make a playoffs play-in tournament. Next, we had the Grizzlies at the Spurs. Grizzlies 8.5-point favorite over the Spurs in San Antonio. Going with the Grizzlies here. I know they're beat up, but they're still a better team than the Spurs, who are tanking. Let's be honest. They're trying to get a better draft pick. Next, we have the Celtics at the Trailblazers. Boston is a 4.5-point favorite on the road. I'm going to go with Boston in this one. Damian Lillard's probable. Jeremy Grant questionable. Need those guys in that game to even have a chance against Boston. It is in Portland, so that should keep it close. Nonetheless, Boston, who hasn't been playing great of late, I think they have a good night tonight on this Friday evening. I'm going with the Celtics. Finally, we have the Mavericks visiting the Lakers. I was all over the Mavericks in this one at first. And mind you, I told you guys earlier, I like the Lakers over the Mavs right now, just from the buildup of their team. Mavs just have some huge question marks on defense, but Luka's out in this game. Kyrie's questionable for personal reasons. Make of that what you will. It's always something personal with him, but nonetheless, you definitely need Kyrie in this game to participate. AD should be playing tonight. That should bring the Lakers up to a good enough status for them to take this game against the Mavericks for me. So I'm going to go Lakers in this one. So just to run down one more time, winners for the Friday night slate: 76ers over the Hornets, Warriors over the Hawks, Cavs over the Wizards, T-Wolves over the Bulls, Pelicans over the Rockets, Grizzlies over the Spurs, Celtics over the Blazers, Lakers over the Mavs to round out the Friday night slate. Guys, I will get best bets for you posted on the DSM YouTube channel. It'll be posted as a YouTube short graphic. It'll have our best bet for the NBA slate tonight. I'll have 5 picks on there for you guys. So be sure, if you like to tail me, I'll have those posted for you. Subscribe to the DSM YouTube channel. Make sure you're tapped into that, as well as Sixers best bets as well. They will be posted around the same time there. So just check out YouTube channel of DSM Media. Go to the shorts section and you'll find the best bets graphics for the evening. But guys, that is going to be all I have for this episode of Scotty Talks NBA. Yes, we cut it a little short. I know it's not the most news-filled episode that we've had. There's just not a ton of news right now. It's a lot of basketball being played, right? This is the nitty-gritty part of the season. So I just want to keep you guys updated with what's important, and that being the playoff seeding, playoff picture, and the outlook for the postseason for each and every one of these teams. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to DSM Media on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at DSM_media, on TikTok at DSM Media, and on Instagram at DSM.DoSomethingMajor. Guys, that is going to be it for this episode of Scotty Talks NBA. Thank you for tuning in. Peace. Happy Friday. Go Duke.